Hello, guys. Nat Blue here, and today we are going to take a moment to talk about the new subclasses in the Unearthed Arcana. So, this is a playtest that Wizards of the Coast is doing. If anybody gets to playtest these classes, please leave a comment whether or not you liked the subclass. Because sadly, I am not playing a lot of D&D right now. And when I eventually start playing again with my group, I think for a moment we are transitioning over to kids on bikes. So we will not be playing D&D. So I won't get much of a chance to play test these anytime soon. Now, there are 8 subclasses that were revealed in this Unearthed Arcana. 2 of them are new, and the other 6 are returning subclasses with some updates for the new 2024 rules. The 2 new subclasses are the Reanimator Artificer and the Hollow Warden Ranger. The revised classes are College of Spirits Bard, Grave Domain Cleric, Phantom Rogue, Shadow Sorcery Sorcerer, Hexblade, Patron Warlock, and the Undead Patron Warlock. And we're going to hop into this in order of the Unearthed Arcana, which means we are starting with the Reanimator Artificer. I'm so happy that the Artificer is getting some more love in this Unearthed Arcana and in 2025 overall, because I think this is the second outing of the Artificer recently. And I think it's such an undervalued class. And a class that, for the most part, D&D's kind of ignored, largely. So, the Reanimator Artificer is kind of how it sounds. They create solvents from corpses and create science from necromancy. It's the Frankenstein subclass. And I'm not saying Frankenstein's monster, I'm saying Dr. Frankenstein. This is Dr. Frankenstein. And I think there's some interesting stuff you could do with this also. It might not be that you want to flavor it like Dr. Frankenstein. It might be that you want to flavor it as like somebody that's just obsessed with undead or something along those lines, kind of like a necromancer, but a little bit more scientific. So we have some new abilities here, but like a lot of classes, we also have a spell list for the Reanimator Artificer. At level 3, they get the spells False Life, Spare the Dying, and Witchbolt, which are all solid. At level 5, they get Blindness and Deafness and Enhance Ability. At level 9, they get Animate Dead and Lightning Bolt. Lightning Bolt is so good. At level 13, they get Blight and Death Ward. Blight is probably one of my favorite damage dealing spells. It is so good. And then at level 17, they get Anti-Life Shell and Raise Dead. The overall solid spell list. And like the other classes that will have dedicated spell list, these are always prepared. So you always have these spells at the ready. At level 3, they get an ability called Jolt to Life, which is when you cast Spare the Dying, you can modify it so it sends a jolt of electricity through the target, reviving it. The target gains 1 HP, and each creature within a 10-foot emanation makes a dex save or takes 1d4 artificer level lightning on a failed save. 1d4 plus the artificer level. I am sorry about that. You can do that in a number of times equal to your intelligence modifier for long rest. So the higher your intelligence, the better this gets. It will stack a little bit better. Then at level 3, you also get Reanimated Companion, which is when you are using Tinker tools or another type of artisan's tools that you have proficiency in, you can take a magic action to create a Reanimated Companion. There is a stat block the D&D made for this, and I think the stat block is solid. It does stack a little bit as you level up, so the HP is 4 times your artificer level, or 4 plus 4 times your artificer level, and then the AC is 10 plus your intelligence modifier. You get an ability called Death Burst with the companion, which is The companion explodes when it dies. Everybody makes a dexterity saving throw. And if they fail, they get 2d6 necrotic damage, which is really good, especially at level 3. And then you get an ability called Lightning Absorption. When the companion is subjected to lightning damage, it regains the number of HP equal to the lightning damage dealt. This is great for a couple of reasons. Obviously, if you're in a fight and the enemy is doing lightning damage, your companion's going to be healing throughout the fight. But more so, in my opinion, the best thing about this is you can heal your companion with things like shocking grasp, lightning strike, lightning glow, stuff like that. You can just heal your companion, and that's really good. This companion is friendly to you and your allies, and it obeys you. It lasts until you finish a long rest or take a magic action to dismiss it early, at which point it harmlessly collapses into a pile of viscera. You can only create one companion per long rest unless you expend a spell slot to create one. You can only have one companion at a time, and you can't create one while your companion is present. The companion acts during your turn. It can move and take its reaction on its own, but the only action it can take is dodge unless you take a bonus action to command it to take an action. So your bonus action commands this guy to take an action. If you are incapacitated, the companion will act on its own and isn't limited to the dodge action. The attack that your companion has is called Dreadful Swipe, which is just a melee attack, but there are actions that can be taken, or I wouldn't even say actions. There are traits that your companion gets that will be triggered by the Dreadful Swipe. At level 9, you can modify your companion further, adding one of the following. Bloated, where the companion becomes large or medium, and whenever it hits a large or smaller creature with Dreadful Swipe, I keep saying Deadful, that creature can be pushed up to 10 feet away from the companion. Additionally, you can add your intelligence modifier to the damage dealt by the Death Burst. Gaunt, which is the companion's speed, increases to 45 feet, and it gains a climb speed equal to its speed. It is very similar to Spider Climb, in which it can climb difficult surfaces like ceilings and walls without making an ability check. In addition, whenever a creature starts within a 10-foot emanation originating from the companion, the creature must succeed on a wisdom save against your spell save DC or have the frightened condition until the start of its next turn, which is a great ability. And then lastly, Moist. The companion gains a swim speed equal to its speed. In addition, whenever the companion is hit by an attack roll from a creature within 10 feet, the attacker takes acid damage equal to your intelligence modifier. So great ability stuff there. At level 15, you master Revivification and gain the following benefits. Facilitated Revival, where you can cast Revivify or Raise Dead with half the material cost. Improved Companion, where the Death Burst increases to 46, and the necrotic damage ignores resistance. Life Transfer, where you can siphon the animating magic to bolster yourself. When you take damage, you can take a reaction to cause your reanimated companion to drop to 0 HP. The companion immediately dies, triggering the Death Burst trait, and you regain a number of HP equal to your Artificer level. I don't love that that's a level 15 ability because that means you're gaining 15 HP, which I don't think is much, but I mean, it's still better than nothing. And at level 15, your companion might not be staying alive in combat as long anyway. So I think it still has its benefits. I overall love the flavoring of the Reanimator. it seems like it would be a lot of fun to play. So I've never played an Artificer, and I appreciate the Artificer class, but I have never really been interested in it. There's nothing about Artificer that has jumped out to me as something that I would like to try. So I think this kind of shows me an Artificer that I think would be fun to play as. And then we have the College of Spirits Bard. This was in Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft. And these bards conjure spirits to change the world, is how they describe it. But in actuality, it's to assist the bard. They are the mediums of the D&D world. And I think this is a really cool bard flavoring. A lot of people play bards as the musician. I don't love that. I have played a magician bard, I have played a theater bard, and I have played a was that it? Magician and theater? But I think it's always cool to give the bard a little bit more flavoring. I know people have played clowns before, and a medium just kind of makes sense because you're still kind of an entertainer of sorts. So there are some changes that are immediately outlined in here from the Von Richten's Guide to Ravenloft version. Guiding Whisper and Spiritual Focus are now combined into a single feature, Channeler. This new feature also grants you proficiency with playing cards. Spirits from Beyond, which used to be called Tales from Beyond, has been reworked to improve its action economy and produce more immediate effects. The options on the features table have been revised as well. And then Empowered Channeling is a new feature that allows the bard to cast and alter the Spirit Guardian spell. So we are going to start with Channeler at level 3. You learn how to contact spirits beyond the grave, letting the power and knowledge flow through you. You gain the benefits, Guiding Whispers, and Spiritual Focus. The Guiding Whispers, you know the guidance cantrip, and it has a range of 60 feet when you cast it, which is a decent range. Spiritual Focus, you employ tools that aid you in channeling spirits. You get a gaming set, which is playing cards. You have proficiency with these cards, and you can use them or one of the following items as a spellcasting focus: Arcane Focus, which is a crystal or an orb, candle, or ink pen. I think, honestly, the cards make a lot of sense, unless you want to do the crystal because you are a medium. And then at level 3, you also get Spirits from Beyond. So you can take a bonus action when holding your spellcasting focus to expend one of the bardic inspiration die and call forth the powers of a spirit. Roll the bardic inspiration die and refer to the spirits from beyond table to determine the spirit you channel. Then choose one target you can see within 30 feet of you as the target. The spirit immediately takes effect. If it requires a saving throw, it is equal to your bard's spell save DC. So, Spirits from Beyond the table has been rewarded. There are 12 options, so you would roll a d12 for this. So, I got this wrong here. So, it's a d12 because that's how high your bardic inspiration goes. This ability stacks. So, the more you level up, the higher your bardic inspiration die gets, and the more options open up on the table, which I do love this. But I just wanted to clarify that I did get this little section incorrect. Beloved, the target regains HP equal to 1 roll of your bardic inspiration die plus your charisma modifier. Sharpshooter, target takes force damage equal to 1 roll of your bardic inspiration die plus your charisma modifier. Avenger, until the end of your next turn, any creature that hits the target with a melee roll takes force damage equal to a roll of your bardic inspiration die. Renegade, the target can immediately take a reaction to teleport up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space it can see. Fortune Teller, the target has advantage on D20 test until the start of your next turn. Wayfarer, the target gains temporary HP equal to a roll of your bardic inspiration die plus your bard level. While it has these temporary hit points, the target's speed increases by 10 feet. That's a really good one. I love Wayfarer. Trickster, the target makes a wisdom save. On a failed save, the target takes psychic damage equal to 2 walls of your bardic inspiration die and has the charmed condition until the start of your next turn. On a successful save, the target takes half as much damage only. That is pretty strong. 2 walls of bardic inspiration could be like 2d8. And then the charmed condition is incredibly good. Then on a successful save, still taking damage, that's a great one. Shade, the target gains the invisible condition until the end of its next turn, or until the target makes an attack roll, deals damage, or casts a spell. When the invisibility ends, each creature in a 5-foot emanation originating from the target must succeed on a con save or take necrotic damage equal to 2 walls of your bardic inspiration die. That's really good too. Arsonist, the target makes dexterity saving throw, taking fire damage equal to 4 walls of your bardic inspiration die on a failed save, or half as much on a successful one. 4 walls is insane. Because let's say you have a d8 bardic inspiration. That means on average, that's 16. That is a lot of damage for a random effect. And then 10 Howard, the target in each creature of your choice in a 30-foot emanation originating from the target must succeed on a wisdom saving throw or have the frightened condition until the start of your next turn. While frightened, a creature's speed is halved, and it can take either an action or a bonus action, not both. That's great too. Brute, each creature of your choice in a 30-foot emanation originating from the target makes a strength saving throw. On a failed save, a creature takes thunder damage equal to 3 rolls of your bardic inspiration die and has the prone condition. On a successful save, the creature takes half as much damage. Prone is so good. If that gets pulled off, that means if the rules are still correct or the same in the 2024 edition, that means your allies just get advantage to hit this guy. And then, lastly, controlled channeling. You determine the spirit's effect by choosing one of the other rows in this table. That might be the best one. Because if you want to do damage, you pick the highest damage one you can get. Maybe focus on a weakness. You know that it has low strength or low wisdom or something like that. And you try to damage the other creature. But if your party is having a bit of a tough time, maybe instead you take that roll to heal somebody. So I think controlled channeling is insanely good. And then at level 6, you get empowered channeling, where you gain a few benefits. Power from Beyond, once per turn when you cast a bard spell that deals damage or restores HP, you roll a d6. You gain a bonus to one of the spell's damage rolls or to the total hit points the spell restores equal to that number. And then Spiritual Manifestation. You always have Spirit Guardians prepared. You can cast the spell once without a spell slot, which is so good. And you regain the ability to cast it that way once you finish a long rest. Whenever you start casting the spell, you can modify it so the spirits also guard against worldly threats. When you cast it that way, you and your allies within the emanation have half cover. Once you modify the spell, you can't do it again until you finish a short or long rest. Short or long rest is key here because being able to finish a short rest to make this happen is so good. And then at level 14, to round out this subclass, you gain mastery over the spirits you call forth. Whenever you roll on the spirits from beyond table, you can roll the die twice and choose which of the two effects to bestow. So similar to controlled channeling, but a little bit more random. So that is College of Spirits Bard. We probably are not going to get through all of these subclasses today because I don't want this to be too long every video, but we will try to get through 4 of them today and then 4 of them in our next video. So if you are enjoying this, check back in later this week or beginning of next week and see if the next video has been posted yet. So we are going to the Grave Domain Cleric. And this cleric believes in the balance between life and death. To them, death is a natural and inevitable part of life. They seek to destroy the undead and send spirits to the afterlife. This was in Xanathar's Guide to Everything. There are some key changes from Xanathar's. Circle of Mortality now grants you a small damage boost against bloodied creatures. Grave Domain spells have been updated to include more versatility and more combat relevant spells. Path to the Grave now produces an ongoing cost effect in addition to boosting the damage of an attack. Sentinel at Death's Door can trigger on any attack, not just critical hits. And Divine Reaper is a new feature that absorbs the previous benefits of Keeper of Souls and provides a boost to the cleric's necromancy spells. So at level 3, you can manipulate the balance between life and death, giving you the following benefits. Pool of Death, once per turn, when you cast a spell or hit with an attack roll and deal damage to a bloodied creature, that creature takes an extra 1d4 necrotic damage. I don't know how much I love this class having a lot of flavor towards bloodied creatures. I feel like it's something that was largely left out of 2014's D&D. Pretty much entirely left out. There were still some people using it from all your editions. But it is going to be an extra thing to track on the DM's part because the players are not going to necessarily always know when something is bloodied. So I don't love that. Return to life, when you would normally roll one or more dice to restore HP to a creature at 0 with a spell or channel divinity, you don't roll those dice. Instead, you use the highest number possible for each die. So instead of rolling 2d4 dice, you would just give them 8 HP. And I do really like that. So at level 3, you also get a spell list. At 3rd level, you get Bane, Chill Touch, Detect Evil and Good, Gentle Repose, and Way of Enfeeblement. Those are all great. At 5, you get Revivify and Vampiric Touch, which are also incredibly good. At 7, you get Blight and Dispel Evil and Good. Like I said, I love Blight. And then at 9, you get Horde Monster and Waste Dead, which are both good spells. I love Horde Monster because it can really mess up the action economy, which is kind of a key, especially once you start getting into those higher levels. And then at level 3, as a bonus action, you can present the Holy Symbol and expend a use of your channel divinity to cause one creature you see within 30 feet of yourself until the start of your next turn. While cost, this creature has disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws. When you or an ally can see, or when you or an ally you can see hits the cost target with an attack roll, you can end the cost early to make the attack deal extra necrotic or radiant damage equal to 1d8 plus your cleric level. This ending the cost early does not require an action, which is great. You don't have to use a reaction, you don't have to use a bonus action or anything like that. You can just do it. At level 6, you get Sentinel at Death's Door. So when you or a bloodied creature you can see within 30 feet of yourself is hit with an attack roll, you can take a reaction to half that attack's damage. You can use this feature equal to a number of times equal to your wisdom modifier, minimum of 1. You regain all expended uses after a long rest. So that's pretty solid. Level 17, you get Divine Reaper. Your deep connection to the domain renders you a harbinger of death, granting you a few benefits. Enhanced necromancy, when you cast a spell of level 5 or lower from the necromancy school that targets one creature or a spell from the grave domain spells table, you can expend a use of your channel divinity to target a second creature within the spell's range. If the spell requires costly or consumed material components, you must still provide those components for each target. And then Keeper of Souls. When an enemy dies within 60 feet of you, you or one creature you can see within 60 feet of yourself regains HP equal to 3 times your cleric level, which at level 17 is a pretty substantial amount. That's like 51 HP, I think, if I'm doing the math correctly off the top of my head. You can't use this feature if you have the incapacitated condition. And once you use this feature, you can't use it again until you finish a short or long rest. So that's pretty solid. I love the short or long rest because, like I said, that means you can short rest. And I think spells that encourage short rest are always nice because people are not short resting often enough a lot of times. And then the last one for today's video is the Hollow Warden Ranger. This is the second brand new subclass. And I am really excited about this one. These rangers draw power from ancient and fearsome terrors. The official D&D video about this Unearthed Arcana describes this as a ranger that follows cryptids, and I love that. I think you have a lot of flavor you can use there. You do get a spell list. It is a lot smaller than the other spell list, but at level 3, you get Wrathful Smite. At level 5, you get Spike Growth. At level 9, you get Phantom Steed. At level 13, you get Hallucinatory Terrain. And at level 17, you get Awaken. All solid choices for a spell list. At level 3, you get Wrath of the Wild, where you can transform yourself using the strange and ancient horrors of the land. When you cast Hunter's Mark, you gain the following benefits. You gain Ancient Armor. You get a bonus to your AC equal to your Wisdom modifier. Your body is wreathed in rotten bark or beastly bristles. And then you get Unnerving Aura. When an enemy starts its turn within a 10-foot emanation originating from you, it makes a Wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. On a failed save, it can take either an action or a bonus action on this turn, not both. Your shadow lengthens and twists around you, or you sprout unnatural growths like bloody antlers or putrid fangs. Now, I would give a little bit more flexibility to the customization of this class. I understand the rotten bark, beastly bristles, bloody antlers, putrid fangs. Those are all really cool, and those can be pretty easily tied to cryptids. But I would just give a few more options in case somebody wants to try something different. Maybe instead of rotten bark or beastly bristles, you give them the ability to like gain dense fur that looks like it's bloodstained or something like that. Just allow some customization with this class that the Unearthed Arcana doesn't seem to mention. At level 7, you get Hungering Might. You gain a bonus to your Constitution saving throws equal to your Wisdom modifier. In addition, once per turn, when you hit a creature with an attack roll while you are transformed using Wrath of the Wild, you regain a number of HP equal to 1d10 plus your Wisdom modifier, provided you are bloody when you are hit. This is another bloodied thing that seems to be kind of a theme in this Unearthed Arcana, but I think this one's a little bit easier to use because you will know if you're at half HP, which I think is what the bloodied condition is. I really hope it is. All this entire video, I might have been, yeah, half of you of its HP. I was going to say I might have just been wrong, but you will know if you're at half of fewer of your own HP. I think it's just harder when you start using it with monsters because then the DM is forced to track bloodied a little bit more closely than most DMs are probably used to at this point. And then at level 11, you get Rot and Violence. So your dedication to the forest alters you further. When transformed, you gain a few more benefits. You get Eerie Aura. So when a creature fails its saving throw against your Unnerving Aura, it also takes necrotic, poison, or psychic damage, your choice, equal to your ranger level. This damage ignores resistance. Anytime damage ignores resistance, it's a good thing because you never know, especially at some of the higher levels, what resistances that creature's going to have. And it would suck to use this ability when the creature's already failed an Unnerving Aura and just nothing happen or not much of an effect happen since it is resistance. And then Strangling Roots, when you hit a creature with an attack roll using a weapon, you can activate the sap or slow mastery property in addition to a different mastery property you're using with that weapon. So you pretty much get 2 weapon masteries on that attack, and that is solid with a new weapon mastery like benefit of the 2024 D&D rule set. And then at level 15, you get Ancient Endurance. You become wholly suffused with the forest ancient power, granting you a few more benefits. You get Persistent Hunt when you drop to 0 HP while transformed using Wrath of the Wild. And don't die outright. You can expend a level 4 plus spell slot without using an action to regain hit points. So your HP changes to an amount equal to 5 times the level of spell slot expended, which means it's high risk, high reward. The higher spell slot you expend, the better the effect's going to be, but the less options you're going to have for spells you can use. And then Timeless, you have immunity to the exhaustion condition. This is the first time I have seen this, and that is such a good effect. I'm sure there are races, or I guess they're called species now, that might have similar effects, but I can't think of any off the top of my head. So I do really like Timeless. Immunity to exhaustion is great because exhaustion can be one of the most frustrating things in D&D. I'm really not a huge fan of it. I know that they have changed it for 2024, but it is still a very punishing system for the players. So that is this video, which we went over 4 of the subclasses. And overall, so far in the Unearthed Arcana, I'm happy with this. The Reanimator Artificer is such a good subclass that adds a little bit of flavor to a science-based class that for the most part has been about making weapons and armor and potions. So I like the flavor of like a Frankenstein's monster, kind of a necromancer artificer. The College of Spirits part is something I've been intrigued about since I read about it online a couple years ago, and something I just haven't had time to play because I've already played 2 bards and I'd like to change classes every time I make a new character. Brave Domain Cleric, also one of those ones that I've been a bit intrigued about. I don't enjoy how much some of the abilities rely on the bloodied condition. Like I said, I do think it will make it a little bit more taxing on the DM. And I'm just not a huge cleric fan. I haven't really had much inclination to make a cleric in the past. I've considered it a couple of times. I think I've even considered a Grave Domain Cleric a couple of times for like a character with the Raven Queen as the patron, but I'm not a big cleric guy. And then the Hollow Warden Ranger. I think this is an exciting ranger, and I really do like what they're doing with the ranger in 2024. I understand, like a lot of people, that the changes to um, Hunter's Mark could be better. Hunter's Mark has gotten worse since the 2014 iteration, but for the most part, I'm excited that they're breathing a little bit more life into the Ranger class, a class that I've always been curious about, but never wanted to play because of the negativity surrounding the class. So that is my recap of the first half of the Unearthed Arcana. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. This isn't something that I do very often. We didn't talk about the last Unearthed Arcana that was released, I think, a couple months ago, maybe a month ago. And if you did like this, let me know. This might be something that I do more frequently. I do like this kind of video. I do think sometimes when this kind of stuff gets released, I prefer to hear it in this sort of format where there's a deeper dive into it. And like I said at the beginning of this video, if you get to play these subclasses, please comment down below if you like them, or if there's any balancing things that you would work out or any changes to any of the abilities that you would want worked out before this Unearthed Arcana becomes an official D&D class or subclass. If you guys did like this video, please leave a like. If you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell to be notified when videos are released. And other than that, guys, I hope everybody is having an amazing day. And until next time, peace.